Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the presentation of the Basic Aviation Badge with Astronaut device and the Basic Space Badge to Major Kate Rubins. Our host for today's ceremony is the Commanding General of the 75th United States Army Reserve Innovation Command, Major General Michelle Link. Please stand for the arrival of the official party. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Link.
It's okay. So good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. So to begin with, we are honored to be joined today by the Chief of the Army Reserve, Lieutenant General Robert Harder, Brigadier General Stanley, CW5 Horn, Command Sergeant Major Turner, Brigadier General Howard, where are you, Stephanie? There you are. It's Admiral Donovan, so thank you for showing up as well. Chief of Staff Bill Dalton, right? Chief Astronaut Joe Akaba, thank you. And Flight Operations Director Norman Knight. He's not here, okay, but we welcome him anyway. So a warm welcome to Major Rubins, her family, her mother, Reverend Ann Hollisey, her stepfather, Reverend retired Barry Beisner, her partner, Dr. Yael Hochberg, and her fellow 75th U.S. Army Reserve Innovation Command soldiers. Thank you all for joining us today to mark this momentous occasion of Major Rubins and joining the elite group of Army soldiers who have qualified for the Army Astronaut device. Major Rubins is making history as she will be the first Army Reserve soldier to receive the astronaut device. Admittedly, it's not a device we were familiar with, so we had to do a lot of searching and Google referencing. For anybody that's looked up Major Rubins, phenomenally gifted, phenomenally humble, significant presence in any Google search, but we wanted to share maybe a little bit of anecdotal feedback on some of the comments related to today's event. So some of the questions from fans out there were wanting to know whether you have to now do annual training from space. With regard to the Army Combat Fitness Test, some have said that your overhead ball throw is likely still traveling. Others wanted to know how slow your cyber awareness training loaded in space, if you did in fact do that. That having a 2-mile time, about 1/2 a second on the International Space Shuttle is pretty badass. And with near zero gravity, you will always pass weight. And normally, and I think this is a sentiment that we all espouse, you would need 20 soldiers to achieve half of what you have achieved. Okay? So Major Rubins was born in Farmington, Connecticut, and raised in Napa, California. As a child, she dreamed of being an astronaut. I have heard that you did chores around the house to work toward your goal of attending space camp, which you did in 7th grade. After space camp graduation, Major Rubins took on more math and science classes. Her efforts landed her at the University of California, San Diego, where she received her Bachelor of Science in Molecular Biology. Major Rubins conducted her undergraduate research on HIV-1 integration in the Infectious Diseases Laboratory at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies. She went on to earn a PhD in cancer biology from Stanford University. During her PhD time, she focused on biodefense, particularly high-consequence pathogens like smallpox, monkeypox, and Ebola. Major Rubins was a visiting researcher at the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. I'm going to call that USAMRID for short as I continue to go through. That's a lot to say. Together with Army researchers, Dr. Rubins and colleagues developed the first model of smallpox infection. She then became a fellow and principal investigator at the Whitehead Institute for Biomedical Research, along with MIT, and continued to work with USAM RID, headed a lab of 14 researchers studying viral diseases that primarily affect Central and West Africa, including multiple missions with USAM RID to the Democratic Republic of Congo for monkeypox outbreaks. She conducted biodefense research and collaborative projects with the U.S. Army to develop therapies for Ebola and Lassa viruses. Major Rubins has published and presented her work in numerous papers internationally and in scientific conferences and scientific journals. In 2009, Major Rubins became a member of the 20th NASA astronaut class and the 3rd Space Camp alumna to fly in space when she launched to the International Space Station in July of 2016. Major Rubins direct commissioned into the Army Reserve in 2021 as a microbiologist, and she currently serves with the 75th U.S. Army Innovation Command as an innovation officer. She supports, in this capacity, the Army Reserve by providing advanced biomedical technology expertise through engineering and technology, aiding in the modernization of biological and medical innovation. Major Rubins has participated in the Army Future Command's Director of Concepts-led Future Studies program, which are critical to providing input into the new Army warfighting concept as the U.S. Army charts a path forward as its largest period of transformation in decades. Major Rubins supported key synthetic biology and chemical threat detection, protection, and decontamination events. These events have led to 21 new concept-required capabilities, many of which are focused on medical, biological, and chemical disciplines. Through this network, she has been critical in connecting the DevCom Development Command Chem Biocenter to the broader Department of Defense research community on biodefense-related research. Major Rubins is a unique individual who holds both military and civilian spaceflight credentials. Her research, while on board the International Space Station, has advanced scientific knowledge and paved the way for future space exploration endeavors. Her experience in NASA as a researcher and biomedical professional has clear, relevant application to the U.S. Army as we develop new concepts to address the growing number of medical and biological challenges expected on the future battlefield. Major Rubins is a stellar example of the Army's core values and what it means to lead a life of service. She inspires audiences around the world in her service as an astronaut and Army Reserve soldier, and is the embodiment of twice the citizen. We are incredibly proud to have Major Rubins within our command and to serve alongside of her. Today, she will receive the Basic Army Aviation Badge, which is awarded to officers who have attended an aeronautical rating of Army Aviator as prescribed in Army Regulation 600-105. The Army Astronaut device that is affixed to Major Rubins' Aviator Badge is a gold-colored device, 7/16 inch in length, consisting of a star emitting 3 contrails encircled by an elliptical orbit. The Chief of Staff of the Army awards the Army Astronaut device to personnel who meet the award qualifications, which consist of, first, completion of initial qualification training as an astronaut, and second, through the course of operational military duties, achieving an altitude equal or greater than 62 miles, 100 kilometers, of altitude, Kármán line, we had to look that one up too, the internationally recognized altitude demarcating space. Major Rubins is also receiving the Basic Space Badge, which is awarded to active Army, Army Reserve, and National Guard soldiers who successfully complete appropriate space-related education or training and serve the required number of months in an Army Space Cadre approved or coded position, or while performing duties in a space mission area. Major Rubins, would you please join me in front of the flag so we can affix your new badges?
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated during the presentation. Major Kathleen H. Rubins is being presented one of the least awarded badges in the United States military, the Aviation Badge with Astronaut device for the successful completion of an operational mission in space. In July of 2009, Major Rubins was selected as one of the 9 members of the 20th NASA astronaut class. She underwent intensive instruction on International Space Station systems, spacewalks, robotics, physiological training, and flight training at Naval Air Station Whiting Field and NASA, in addition to extensive weather, land, and winter survival training. Major Rubins completed her first space flight on Expedition 4849, where she became the first person to sequence DNA in space. Major Rubins most recently served aboard the International Space Station as a flight engineer for Expedition 6364. Across her 2 flights, she performed 4 spacewalks and has spent a total of 300 days in space, the 4th most amount of days in space by a United States female astronaut. This uniquely skilled and qualified soldier represents the very best of our talented officer corps and demonstrates how the United States Army will continue to play a pivotal role in future space exploration. Major Rubins' accomplishments speak to her outstanding devotion to duty and a testament of her commitment to the Army and the United States. By order of the Secretary of the Army. The Basic Space Badge is awarded to Major Kathleen H. Rubins for 32 months of Army Space Operations Service for attaining the required space training and experience. Signed, Stephen M. Murphy, Director, Office of the Chief of Space and Missile Defense.
These are not easy to get out. This uniform is thick. There we go.
We normally do blood wings in it. That would have been easier. You don't put the bags up.
I know, it might have been easier to pound it through that thick material.
General Link is now presenting Major Rubins a 75th U.S. Army Reserve Innovation Command coin. Thank you, General Link. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and pleasure to introduce Major Kate Rubins to the podium.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. As part of the ceremony, I would like to recognize Lieutenant General Robert Harder, Chief of the U.S. Army Reserve, Major General Michelle Link, 75th Innovation Command, U.S. Army Reserve Innovation Command Commanding General, Brigadier General John Stanley, 75th U.S. Army Reserve Innovation Command Deputy Commanding General, CW5 John Horn, 75th Innovation Command Command Chief Warrant Officer, Command Sergeant Major Sherry Turner, 75th Innovation Command Sergeant Major, Colonel Nicholas Dill, 75th Army Reserve Innovation Command Support Group Commander, Brigadier General Stephanie Howard, OUSD ANS, Mr. Bale Dalton, NASA Chief of Staff, and Mr. Joe Akaba, Chief of the Astronaut Office, and that was harder than launching into space. I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I joined the Army Reserve. I joined a little bit late in life. So I was a citizen when I was just a standard citizen when I joined NASA. And I'd served a number of years at NASA. It's an incredible mission. There's opportunities that we have as astronauts to serve our nation, but we also get some of the most incredible training that you can possibly have. And as I was serving my second space mission, I had started to feel that my country had given me so much. I could never repay it. It cost more than my house. It cost more than 10 houses. It cost more than a skyscraper in New York. And I was fortunate enough to be the recipient of all this training and the trust that the United States had put in me. How could I ever repay and thank the country for that? As I started thinking about this a little bit, I had talked to one of my friends who was serving in the National Guard, in the Air National Guard, and I started to think a little bit about signing up to be a reserve soldier. The more I thought about it, the more this seemed like not just some idea, but something that I absolutely had to do. It became a drive in me and a fire in me to make sure that I could sign up and I could be both a citizen and a soldier. And so I commissioned into the Army Reserve and started serving as a medical officer. I've been fortunate enough to find a place and a home in the 75th Innovation Command. I got to tell you a little bit about the 75th Innovation Command just to say how incredible it is. This is offering soldiers the opportunity to use their civilian skills at the highest level. So we have things like AI and machine learning, energy, autonomy, robotics, synthetic biology and biotechnology, and cyber. These are all critical areas for our nation's defense. And we are making use of the Citizen Soldier program to take the best of what's out there in the civilian world and bring that into service in our country. I'm incredibly pleased to be able to be a part of this very unique unit. I'm also very happy to continue to be a NASA astronaut, and my boss, Chief of the Astronaut Office, Joe Akaba, is sitting right there, so hopefully I'll continue to be a NASA astronaut and serve the nation for a lot longer. Thank you, sir, for coming. These are really two unique jobs, but they share a lot in common. What we are doing in both of these missions is working together. We have a goal. We are working with a small team of dedicated professionals, and we depend on each other for our lives and to accomplish the mission. I see so many parallels between being an astronaut and serving in a space mission, as well as being a U.S. Army Reserve soldier. So I just feel incredibly fortunate. I feel like the Army Reserve has offered me this opportunity. I don't have to give up my day job. I can continue to be an astronaut, and I can serve at the same time. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Thank you, Major Rubins. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please join in congratulating Major Rubins and her family in the receiving line in front of the flags.
Thanks for stepping into the breach. Wish you'd accomplish more with your life, but you're doing okay. You bet, yeah. Continue to leverage it. Let me know what we can do to help. I'm trying to get the word out, okay? Appreciate it. Thanks so much for your support.
All right, so I second Penny.
Thanks so much.
So we'll get them all.
What's the reverend?
But they still
I'm a Catholic, so